Good morning, everyone. We are here on a great day in Washington, D.C. A number of you have talked to us about the John Glenn, and today we launch it, and well, it may have already been launched, but I'm getting on it today. I'm joined by members of our public safety team, the Chief of Police, the Chief of the Fire Department and EMS Service, and the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety. So we are kicking off the day with a visit on the John Glenn, which returned to service last month following a $2.5 million rehab. The John Glenn is one of 4 fireboats that helps patrol the D.C. waterways. It's been with D.C. since 1977, and every 5 years we make sure it's in the best shape possible. We also have about $34 million in the budget for its replacement over several years, and the department is currently working with a marine architect to design a new state-of-the-art fireboat that will eventually replace the John Glenn. And as we visit the boat, I also want to recognize our incredible team at Fire and EMS, especially our dive team. They work closely with MPD's Harbor Unit, and we're grateful for their service to the district. This morning, I also want to provide a public safety recap and update from the past weekend. I want to start by thanking the many people, including our teams at Pride, who selected Washington, D.C. as the site for World Pride, and the Capital Pride Alliance, our local organizing team, as well as my office led by Director Japer Bowles, who supported more than 300 successful World Pride events across all 8 wards. Saturday's World Pride had a huge turnout and it was a big success. The 2-day festival downtown was a success. The festival at RFK, it was huge, and there were many, many other events, including the Capitol Cup, the Human Rights Conference, and the District of Pride Showcase that brought people from across D.C. and around the world together here in our city. So I am tremendously proud that the world was able to see D.C. Pride, and the world was also able to see that we stand here in the capital of the United States of America, proud of our perseverance in progress. I also want to address my decisions around Dupont Circle. As you know, early last week, the National Park Service indicated that they would be closing Dupont Circle. You're also aware that the Metropolitan Police Department worked with the Park Service and also issued a rescission of a request to close the circle. And after lots of conversations, mostly between Friday night and Saturday morning, the Department of the Interior and the National Park Service agreed to keep the circle open. Unfortunately, many of the concerns that the chief expressed related to the circle and the people who came to the circle this year and in previous years came to fore. And while there was many hours of successful fun and celebration, there were also incidents of violence at the park. So I want to be clear, all decisions related, all the political decisions related to opening the park are mine, and the responsibility for keeping the park open on that day was ours in the District of Columbia. I want to acknowledge and thank the Department of the Interior and the National Park Service for being responsive to our request, and I must say those requests spanned the political spectrum, from city to Congress, from community to the Wilson Building. And it is important that we recognize the decisions that we made. I also want to recognize the incredible work of the Metropolitan Police Department, not just at Dupont Circle, but in events across Washington, D.C., to keep Washington, D.C. safe, along with our federal partners and along with Metro Transit and others who support our events. But I want to underline that the Pride events and all the events associated with Pride, we are sincerely proud of. And for the department, the fire department and EMS service, Chief, we know that we're calling on not just DC FEMS and DC MPD, but our Homeland Security agencies, our Human Services agencies, for events like Pride, the Army 250 that's upcoming, as well as the 4th of July, all in a matter of months. And so our public safety agencies are going to be called on for lots of work, lots of hours, and we're asking for everybody to heed their advice, everybody to follow their instructions so we can have wonderful events this summer. So with that, I'm going to turn to Chief Donnelly to talk about the John Glenn. I'm going to ask Chief Smith for a rundown of events and I think a presentation. And then we're going to take a ride on the John Glenn. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad to be here today to tell you that the John Glenn went back in service on April 25th and has been serving since then. That's after a $2.5 million investment to make sure it is seaworthy and that everything that can be done to make it the best boat to serve the district has been done. That included steel hull replating, steering upgrades, a keel hull cooler, and better navigation and safety equipment. So we're very fortunate to have it back. It is a big piece of our response plan, and it pumps 8,000 gallons a minute of water and breaks ice. There isn't another boat on the river that can do that, so it's very important to us. This summer, I'd just like to remind everyone, be safe on the water. We'll be out there. MPD is out there. Everybody wants you to be safe. Everybody wants you to enjoy our water, but it can be a very dangerous place. So be safe and enjoy your summer. Chief Smith.
Good morning. I'm Chief Smith, Chief of Police for the Metropolitan Police Department, and I'm just here today to just kind of give you a quick update over our weekend events. First, I'll start by thanking the members of the Metropolitan Police Department who worked really tirelessly from the beginning of the Pride activities here in the city through this weekend. I would also like to thank the members of the other law enforcement agencies who supported us throughout this region, as well as those who came out of state from Greenburgh, North Carolina, as well as Miami, Florida, to support us in our World Pride events this weekend. I also want to focus a little bit on all of the activities, over 300 plus, as the mayor said, World Pride events. I echo the sentiments of the mayor in that all of the World Pride events were very successful this weekend. I think everybody had a fabulous time. I think we spent a lot of time prepping and planning for the events, and we are very grateful that our partners at Metro Transit, Fire and EMS, WMATA, everybody that really participated and helped support us to bring the events to a successful culmination on last night. So as we talk about what happened throughout the Pride weekend, we did encounter large groups of juveniles throughout our city. I'm very grateful for the members of our team who know how to be flexible and nimble and move resources around the city to ensure that we did not have as many additional activities as we had. We did encounter 15 arrests for the entire weekend, which was a combination of affrays, which are fights, assault with dangerous weapons, simple assaults, and other activities that took place around the city. Again, we are so very grateful and thankful for everyone who participated. And we ask that as we begin our summer months, please take into consideration the things that Chief Donnelly has stated with regards to waterways. Let's make sure we keep our waterways safe. Thank you.
We're going to do it after? Okay.
We're here. Let's do it.
Okay.
Can we get the members of the DI team up?
Chief, are you making that presentation?
I think this is what. Thank you. Right behind. Go all the way across.
So we were able, MPD spearheaded, I guess it's been a few weeks now, a regional awards and recognition event recognizing all of the regional teams that responded to the very tragic air collision that happened over the Potomac a few weeks back. I think we all can say how proud we were of the DC response in leading the unified command that included federal agencies and our regional partners. We're grateful for everybody working together. But Deputy Mayor and the chiefs and I had the opportunity to recognize the young people behind me. Because they are our divers, and you probably won't ever encounter them. But some people do, who find themselves in an emergency situation in the river. And they were able, hour after hour, night after night, frigid night after frigid night, go into the Potomac to make sure that they could join our fellow residents and flyers with their families. And with the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, I'm proud to say that we were able to give that measure of comfort to families. So, Chief, I want you, or who's the Lieutenant, please come up to accept on the behalf of the entire team our recognition for exemplary service to the District of Columbia. For the Fire and Emergency Medical Department and the Underwater Search and Rescue Team. Thank you, Lieutenant.
You do it.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So with that, we can take a few questions. Yes.
Park, knowing what happened, and is there any consideration moving forward to close it during Pride events in following years?
I think if we were standing here this morning and we hadn't opened up the park, you would be asking me, were there any regrets for not pushing hard to have a DC park open that's important to the LGBT community during Pride? I think it would be a different question. So anytime there is harm to someone, and our responsibility, we regard as our number one responsibility to keep the city safe and keep from harm's way. Certainly, I have some regrets, but I know that I was working very hard to balance what our community was calling for with our preparations, and that was the decision I made. I think what a key learning and a key takeaway that's not just for us, but for the entire community, is that we have to listen to the police. We have to listen to law enforcement. And we have to assume that they are making and advancing the best decisions with the information that they have, even with the balance that we had of putting on a global event. And so I think that I can assure you that we're going to do everything we can to have resources available, and even with the most resources, because MPD and others were very prepared there. Bad things can happen, and we have to look at kind of the history and make the best decisions. Yes.
Given all the concerns that the chief had previously raised, why that decision?
That was part of the decision to take down the park, to take down the fence. So to have a programmed event was part of the decision in taking down the fencing.
I understand, though. The question is, why that, given, though, the security concerns that were already raised?
Well, we would not have been able to take down or have the fencing taken down by MPS without a programmed event.
Given what happened, I understand you're taking responsibility for that. You also said there's a lot of things to be proud of, but everybody was looking at Dupont Circle and what happened leading up to World Pride.
Yep.
My question is, given all that happened, how does that prove to the Trump administration and to certain lawmakers that D.C. government can control the district and be a leader?
I don't think we're trying to prove anything to anybody. Nobody cares more about the public safety of our citizens than we do. Sure.
Are you all thinking now about, or is this raising questions about the number of police in the department, the fact that we're down some 800 and that there needs to be more hires?
Obviously, we want more police, and we're on a pathway to 4,000. That is our goal. The chief also, and Chief, I'll ask you to speak to the number of out-of-state police that were able to come and support the activities and the kind of mutual assistance that is at her ready for large-scale events.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think most of you know, and we've all been in this city long enough to know that whenever we have large-scale events, or whether it's a national special security event, we always lean on, as a city, regardless as to how many police officers we have, we always lean on our local, state, and federal partners, and those of them who would like to come and provide support. This event was no different, and the reason why it was no different was because we knew we were going to be on the world stage. And I want to emphasize one thing. The World Pride events and festival footprint, everything that happened around this city that was associated with World Pride was successful. We had the appropriate number of officers to respond to any incident that would have occurred or could have occurred in those locations. Although we did not have any significant or major events, they were very minimal. Maybe somebody pushing the fence line. We got some officers over there to get the fence back up and ready to go. But outside of that, I think the police agencies that supported us this weekend, from the region as well as out of state, and the members of the Metropolitan Police Department did a fabulous job keeping our city safe. So let me be very clear. I work and serve at the pleasure of Mayor Bowser. And any issues that happen regarding public safety in this city outside of that festival footprint, I own that. I'm the chief of police. I make decisions for this city when it comes to on the ground operational decisions as things are happening. And that's what we did. I supported the decision the mayor made. We had a plan. We redevelop that plan to ensure that we can move assets around in the event something happened. And I think the members of the Metropolitan Police Department do a very good job with that. So no, I don't have any regrets. I support the mayor and her decision, and my job is one job, and that's to provide public safety for this city, and I will continue to do that.
What your message would be to the members who are frustrated, who have information about how things were planned? You planned this for what, a year or more, and then a few hours beforehand things changed.
And I think in policing, you have to be flexible, right? I mean, anything could change. I mean, let's think about yesterday. They were at the festival. There was a storm coming through, right? And we had to be quick. HSEMA pushed out some information to make sure people would get in safe spaces, in the event. There was lightning and thundering and other things like that. We have to be flexible when it comes to policing, and we understand this work. And if there's nobody that understands this work more, the members of the Metropolitan Police Department who serve this city know how flexible we have to be. And my team did a fabulous job with moving resources around the city, and I'll stand by that. Sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So on Friday, the mayor told reporters that she did not know in advance your plans to reach out to Park Police and Park Service and send a letter requesting that the park be closed. That when she talked to you, that you acknowledged to her that you weren't fully aware of the importance, the significance of Dupont Circle to the LGBTQ community, and that has raised some concerns of residents about your lack of awareness there, and that you acknowledged to her that you made an error in doing that. And I'm wondering if you could just respond to those comments by the mayor last week, given that here we are now, the mayor's saying you were right after all, and it seems to have been a pretty stressful weekend for you guys.
I don't know if this is a trick question or not, but I think the mayor answered the question the way she answered it on Thursday. I think it was when you all conducted the interview. What I will say is this: there's a lot of planning. There have been a lot of events that take place throughout the year, right? And again, I can't say to you how important it is for us to make sure that when there are big events, that we make sure that we plan accurately for them. Let me go back just a little bit to what you said regarding my response to the LGBT community. I did speak to the mayor, and I did say to the mayor, it was an error on my part to understand the sentimental value of what this city feels about the fountain. But what I will say also is that no one has stood boots on the ground in that space, Mark, every single Pride weekend that we've had in this city, especially over the last few years, than the members of the Metropolitan Police Department and myself over the last 2 years, trying to get order in that space. It is chaotic. I've had many folks tell me that. And so my decision with the members of the U.S. Park Police was based on our intelligence gathering and the years of experience that we've had in that space. And I heard you also say to the mayor that you thought that I was leaning, I did not have the vision of her administration in my purview. Of course, I always have the vision of the mayor's, whatever the mayor's vision is in my purview at all times, which is why she knows and she believes that and has said it on many occasions that public safety is her number one priority. And that's why she hired me to ensure that that's my number one priority as well.
And Mark, let me just kind of add, it's always MPD's responsibility to make deployment decisions. And what I really regard as the error, and that was probably my word, is that I think if we had been able to explain to the community early, instead of NPS making an announcement, I think we could have gotten the community to understand MPD's needs. So I think when we talk, and we're going to be debriefing as a team here real shortly, it's not that we can't close down Dupont Circle during Pride, because we can. And we just need to be able to have a robust conversation and explanation to the community about it. Because I don't want any of you all to forget last week and how you hounded us about why you guys hounded us about why we were letting NPS and Trump close Dupont Circle. Please don't forget that. You guys. Hold on. I'm not finished. And I'm not saying that that was done in a way that was malicious or unfounded, because we heard the same from members of the council. Actually, I think the chief may have heard from members of the council before I even knew about it, from the Congress, from ANC commissioners, and from the community at large. So I'm not saying that as a criticism. I'm saying there was a level of passion and concern about it. And I think the current environment that we're in kind of breeds that. And that environment is, they're trying to go after us. In fact, I had just done an hour-long interview, and that was kind of the upshot of the discussion. They're trying to go after us. It's all Trump. And even then I said, well, let's not skip to that, because we have a great public celebration, and we have public safety considerations. So I just want to lean into that. We own our issues, and it's my responsibility to communicate to the public even a tough decision. And if the tough decision was Dupont Circle has to close, then I'm going to take that on. But let's not forget that people should be able to go to a park during Pride, okay? So you can ask me questions, you can have MPD questions, but we also have to focus on why somebody thought it was okay to bring a gun to that celebration, and how we're going to make sure that we're getting more guns and more young people off the street. More than that, why was it okay for many young people then to get on the metro and go to other places and create havoc. We have to ask ourselves those questions as well, because otherwise we're going to have, we were here or close by here not too long ago talking about how we're not going to be able to allow young people in some of our public places at certain hours. And that's a conversation that continues. Okay, it's really hot. We have to get on a boat. And so these are the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Your deputy mayor sent News 4 a statement about what can only really be described as a very troubling case, a murder case that was dismissed in Superior Court over DNA, and that a man spent 5.5 years in the D.C. jail for a case that he may not have been involved in. It was a DNA match according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and then on the eve of the trial, it was a mismatch. The U.S. Attorney's Office is refusing to say what happened, which I think is a concern for the city, knowing that DNA is very important in using this tool for crime fighting. Ms. Pia said she was looking into this. Do you have an update on that at all?
I don't have an update. I have been briefed on it by the deputy mayor. I expect to talk to the U.S. attorney about it. And I want to be clear. The U.S. attorney this does not implicate the D.C. crime lab. This is their lab that you're talking about. Okay.
My follow-up question is the U.S. Attorney's Office using the D.C. crime lab for DNA testing at this point, or is the city paying millions of dollars for DNA testing that's not being used?
I don't believe they're using it. They should be. Is that correct, Deputy Mayor? Okay. But that's their decision. Yes.
I just want to point out some of the complaints from the ANC at Dupont Circle had to do with that being a part of any of the conversation with regard to fencing at the circle, at the park. And then on top of that, they said afterward that when they tried to communicate with either police department or your office about holding some kind of dance party there, that they were told to reach out to National Park Service. So even when they tried to communicate, that communication wasn't there.
I'm not familiar with that communication, so I won't respond to it, but I haven't not. I was trying, you asked the question, let me respond. I'm not familiar with the communication you're talking about, but I think we acknowledge that if we have such a significant activity like fencing, that we will communicate better.
But then also the police chief was talking about concerns of intelligence, and that included some kind of dance party being held. So why would the decision, it's in the documents, why would the decision then be to have an event involving a DJ there when there's already a security concern? Separately, I do want to ask the mayor.
And by the way, I answered that question in your first round.
It still doesn't make sense. I do want to ask you a follow-up question about ethics violations, claims made against you about your trips to Qatar, Las Vegas, Georgia, and Dubai. Why does your team keep saying that you're being transparent when you haven't released any credible receipts to the public? I can say as a reporter that what I was showing was only after several weeks of asking, and it was finally just shown some kind of document that didn't really include proper separation of payments. There was minimal information in there, and I wasn't even allowed to take a photo and share with anyone. It was only allowed that I could receive it. So why are you still, and your team still something being transparent when nobody has been given any kind of credible receipt about your trip?
I think that we've answered all the questions related to my business travel. I don't know of this group that has filed the complaint. Maybe you should look into that. I had one here on this side. Yeah.
I'm just curious about coming off of the massive events that we had this past weekend, heading into the events of the 14th. What are the plans right now to make sure that the city is safe? What kind of coordination? And have you had any word or concern from the Trump administration based on what happened this weekend?
No, I haven't. And the chief in our HCMA are our lead agencies in working with our federal partners, because as you know, this is a national special security event. And the Secret Service is the lead agency. The chief will participate in a full press briefing a little bit later this afternoon. Chief, you want to add anything?
Thank you, Mayor. And just to add to that, I mean, we have been in planning with U.S. Secret Service, who leads the efforts around the 250th, for many, many months. And so the same level of support that we have provided for the past 5 NSSEs is the same level of support that we'll provide for the 250th.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a couple quick questions for the chief, if I may. Can you give an update on the cases that happened over the weekend? And just to clarify, 6 shootings, 2 stabbings. Am I missing anything?
You probably are. we had a total of seriously a total of 23 violent crimes that occurred on Saturday, and I'm not very happy and I'm not pleased with that. Right now, what I can tell you is that we've made 15 arrests with regards to those incidents, and I think I've kind of explained to you a combination of what they were for. And I will say that our investigators, our detectives are really doing some great work and getting some positive leads on some of the cases that occurred over the weekend.
And do you know if any of those cases were in connection to the World Pride events? Were they bias related, like the Dupont Circle or any of the other incidents?
So we've seen some hate bias cases, not directly related to, if I'm not mistaken, I may be off a little bit, not directly related to the actual events. I think on let me make one correction. I think on last evening at the festival footprint, there was a individuals inside the festival who said there was an individual who was there, and that they were gonna shoot up the place or blow up, some terminology that he used. As you know, the event went off without any incident. We did have the appropriate resources down there to address it. We did put out a bolo of the individual, gray hoodie, white male, and that's all we have right now. But our team is working very, very diligently to find out who that individual is.
And just final quick question. You had mentioned the sentimental value of what the city felt about the fountain. Can you talk about how much that led into your decision versus you had also mentioned the intelligence that you received?
I think that the thing that led to my decision really was about public safety and the experiences that we've had in prior years. I was the chief of police for the U.S. Park Police. I was also a member of the U.S. Park Police for 24 years. So I knew the depth of issues that occurred at night. I will say that the majority of the individuals that participated were not individuals who were here to celebrate Pride. These were young people. Some of these young people are from the DMV area. And so my number one concern was and will always be public safety for this city in any area, any footprint across the city. So that's really what I put my thought process into. Hindsight, would I have made a different decision? Probably not. Just based on the level of efforts we have to put into the number of issues that we have late at night with even trying to close the park. It is a very challenging place, and my thought process is if we could remove that from the footprint of trying to balance out over 300 events, and let's not keep in mind we also had Care First Arena, Mystics were playing, we had National Parks playing baseball, and we also had Audi Field soccer events going on as well, and that also requires me to provide law enforcement support in those areas. And so again, in consultation with the mayor and the public safety team, we look very, very, especially my team, we look very, very intentionally around intelligence, around data, and around what's currently happening around our nation, because it also impacts. And don't forget, we also had First Amendment activities going on as well. So it was a lot going on, but I'm so grateful that we were able to have a World Pride 2025 in this city that was very successful.
Mayor, the Washington Post recently ran a piece on Delegate Norton, talking to several people very close to her, questioning whether she's really up to the job and should be running for re-election again. I'm just wondering if you want to weigh in on this, your thoughts on Delegate Norton at this time in her career, and what do you think her future should be?
Mark, it just as I've said before, I am really focused on making sure our city is strong politically and stable economically, and I think there is time for talking about elections, and I don't choose to do that right now. Okay, thank you.